guys, welcome back to Words of Weather. I'm Zack doing, and this is the show all about weather. Now, I didn't really want to do this episode. I said, there's nothing really big to talk about, nothing crazy happening, but the winter forecast is what I want to talk about since, well, it's only the beginning of December and we've already seen snow. Imagine that winter didn't start for a few weeks, and this is Monday, December 16th, and we're already tracking 3 storms. We had 2, and after the storm, possibly tomorrow, which would be Tuesday, there may be almost a foot of snow total for this winter already, and that's pretty incredible seeing it's not even winter yet. So I'm going to talk about the whole winter forecast, and it is happening a little earlier than expected, so I do expect little changes with the PowerPoint, but I'll explain why and what may happen there beyond. But remember this picture, guys. I don't know how to forget, 40 inches of hand, and yes, that was in February, and it will happen again. We'll try to discuss why it may or may not happen this year, and what else I expect to happen this year. Well, these are the 2 main things that decide what's set up for the winter. It's called the NAO, the negative NAO, North Atlantic Oscillation. And without getting too technical, this is just a balance between high and low pressure. See the high pressure there, low pressure here. This is a positive PNA, or positive NAO. And what this usually means is a more flatter jet stream. It's hard to see because it's basically the globe view of the world. But Connecticut's right over here. And when you have this jet stream, it rides north, which means it brings the southerly flow. Hence, we get warmer than average temperatures for the winter. Obviously, we'll have some snow, but it'll be shortly lived, and we'll see more of a mild stretch. But the negative NAO, this pattern right here, actually going to bend over. Connecticut's right over here, and that's what you really want to see if you want snowstorms. This forces the pattern. The jet stream goes down. You bring the cold air from Canada. You get the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and there come your nor'easters. And your nor'easters, again, are your biggest snowstorms of the winter, which could turn into blizzard. So if you want to see, and also a PNA, I don't have in this map, but Pacific North Atlantic. And again, these are 2 different pattern sets up. And when they go negative and positive, that changes what to expect. But when the NAO goes negative, you can expect lots of snow and cold weather here in New England. But what's going to happen for the whole winter? I mean, the PNA and NAO, they fluctuate. They're not the same every year. But this right here is what sometimes we look at. These are the patterns, either El Nino or La Nina. Now this year, the weird thing is there's really not one pattern that's going to set up. I don't think there's going to be even a weak or moderate any of these. If anything, maybe a weak El Nino, which is right here. But this is an El Nino, not a weak one, so this pattern would be a little different. But in general, for El Nino, for a regular El Nino, it'd be drier than normal and usually mild. And for La Nina, it'd be cooler with more snow possible. But again, I don't think these are really going to play. It'll kind of be in between what we call a neutral season. Not really one distinctive pattern, just kind of a bunch of small ones that set up, short-lived, a week here, a week there, it changes back and forth. And that's what makes this winter hard to forecast, since we really don't know what's going to happen because the pattern is just not supportive. Now, this is Accular.com's winter headlights. It's a little hard to see, guys. I'm sorry. Got a little blurry when I put it in my slideshow. But Connecticut's right around here, and they do think that we will have snow this year, but it will be a slow start to winter. Now, the funny thing is, well, we already seen snow, so this was out a few months ago, so I just took this off to show you what the pros are saying. But they do think it's going to be a decent winter, but it's going to be slow to start, which obviously it's been pretty fast to start, so we'll have to see what happens there. And also, the arch nemesis, the Weather Channel, also does think that it's going to be cooler late in the season, but a mild start, although it's been very cold. But altogether, guys, don't forget, we're not in winter, so it's hard to forecast right now because technically, though we have seen snow, it's not winter yet. So, people can back themselves up saying, well, it's a winter forecast, but if it's not winter, you really can't claim it's a winter forecast, even though we've seen snow, because we do get snow in fall, which is obviously possible, and in spring. Now, this is the NOAA, this is the National Weather Service, which is sorry, guys, this is the Farmer's Almanac. Sorry, I almost didn't read the Farmer's Almanac winter outlook. And right here, it does show snowing cold conditions for us. I don't trust this completely. They claim their own special method of forecasting. I don't know what they look at besides models and stuff like that. But we'll go with this since that's what they say. And they do think we'll have a cold and snowy winter. Not anything extreme, but definitely on the cold and snowier side. Not mild, but more cold and snowy. And this is hard to see. This is this year's Super Bowl. This is MetLife Stadium, the first outside Super Bowl in the Northeast in a long time. And will it be a blizzard? Well, some people do think, the Farmer's Almanac's calling for an all-out blizzard on the week of the Super Bowl. Now, wow, it's way too early to call. And I don't even know how to make a prediction. February is known. Super Bowl is the first week of February, guys. And February is known for major snowstorms up and down the East Coast. So it may not be too super hard to put the prediction out because that week last year, well, that's when we saw the blizzard. So you never know, guys. It's definitely possible. I think it'd be interesting to see. It'd be fun to watch. It'd make it that much more intriguing and interesting. But it's definitely possible. So stay tuned with the Super Bowl because a snow Super Bowl would be definitely one to go in the books. And this is also one of the patterns that's set up for the winter. Like I said, I was going to give a forecast and a kind of explanation of what happens over winter, no matter what type of winter it is. This is the Greenland blocking, and this is what is part of the negative NAO, which I showed a few slides before with the two globes. This right here sets up, remember the jet stream is just a fast-moving narrow band of air in the upper atmosphere, in the troposphere to be, tropopause to be actually exact. And basically what happens is it forces the jet stream down, so you have the cold air from Canada, filtering in, Connecticut gets right over here, and basically what happens when these two combine is with the southern jet, you have a big storm that forms down the South California, the Gulf of Mexico. And what happens in the Gulf of Mexico is obviously it's very warm, moist air. Warm waters, it doesn't really cool down too much in the winter because it's so warm down there. And if the storm tracks up, you go over Florida, which, I mean, yeah, it's some land, but not that big of a landmass, and you pick up all the moisture off the Atlantic, and if you hit the Gulf Stream, which flows up and down the eastern seaboard, the Gulf Stream is a small band of warm water, really warm water, and it flows all the way into the Netherlands, and it goes kind of forever out and, beyond the map. But if the storm hits that, it blows up into a nor'easter, and that's when you get your big snowstorms. Now, nor'easter doesn't just mean lots of snow. A nor'easter can only have, we technically had a nor'easter last week, only 5 or 6 inches of snow. But for a nor'easter, you need winds to come out of the northeast. So right there, the low pressure is right there. Remember, winds around the low pressure go counterclockwise. So the winds are coming out of the northeast, and there you get a nor'easter. If it tracks a little bit right over the benchmark, they call it the 40-70 benchmark, we get a big snowstorm. Inland, we get a more of an icy mix, which we saw, earlier this week. And if it goes way out to sea, obviously, we get nothing. But this is how you get your big snowstorms, and this is also how you can get the blizzards of the year. And this is also another map of a little more distinctive map of what shows frequently snowy, obviously, because like I said, you get the two jet streams combining, and that's where you get your big snowstorms. Wherever this tracks is huge. Okay, again, inland, more rain and more ice. A little off the shore, or too far off, we get nothing. But if it comes right over the 40-70 benchmark, which is right about there, that's when you get your classic nor'easters, big snowstorms, 6, 12, 15, 20 inches of snow around here, 24. The blizzard, exactly what happens. So that's how you get your big snowstorms. But this is only one type of storm track for the year. There's many to talk about, but I'll talk about the main few. This is the nor'easter storm track, and there's also other storm tracks, and this is what's going to affect us. Remember, guys, I'm filming this on Tuesday, and this is what's going to affect us on Monday, guys. This is Tuesday. Sorry, confusing. I'm filming this on Monday. This is what's coming Tuesday. It's called the Alberta Clipper. And basically, you get the cold high pressure here, force the jet stream to dip, and Connecticut's right over here. And again, remember, Alberta Clippers aren't big storms. They travel over land, so in general, they cannot be big since there's nothing to really give it juice. But what happens is it travels over land, and it picks up enough moisture off the Great Lakes and such that it does give us some snow. Now, I'm only forecasting 2 to 4, 3 to 5 inches for Tuesday since it's not a big storm. But the big question is, it's going to drop a little further south. This takes it over Connecticut. This is just a general map, but this storm is actually going to form a little south. And what happens is it'll generate into low pressure off the New Jersey coast and then right at the coast, just like the nor'easter did. Obviously, won't have the time like it did to gather all the moisture from the south and from the waters, but there's potential to get actually a little overperforming in the storm because the waters are warm, the air is cold, so we can get even more snow. The ratios will be high. But this year, Alberta Clippers, and this does happen periodically, not too often, but 2 or 3 times a winter, and you get the light snow, like 2 to 4, 3 to 6 inches usually max for Connecticut with this type of storm. And this is also another type of storm we get in the winter. It's called the inland runner. This is where you get your rainstorm. This is technically a coastal storm, but what happens right here is it cuts right over or just east, or say west of Connecticut. And what happens there is it draws, remember, the winds around the low pressure, like I said before, go counterclockwise. So if you can imagine the swirl, it's dragging the winds out of the southeast, and that's obviously a warm flow off the water. So if you're, east of where the low tracks, you're going to get the rain. You're west, you get the snow because the winds go counterclockwise, and that's why you get it. So this setup would bring us heavy rainstorm and maybe 50s in the winter. And again, this definitely happens. It happens every year. It will happen this year. And the jet stream does fluctuate. So depending on what happens, this could be a more frequent setup this year, which would mean more rain and snow. But again, these are preliminary forecasts. It's hard to forecast more than a week in advance, and I'm trying to do 2 or 3 months. So again, this is preliminary, but this is what you normally see. And this is the map of what I think will be most likely this year. One of the most important maps I have on here. It's the neutral phases, and this is basically what I think is going to set up. You have the jet stream like this. You have the cold polar jet, the southern jet. They meet somewhere off the East Coast, probably around Virginia, maybe a little bit north to Delaware, Maryland. And basically, you do get snow with this. You don't get blockbuster storms, but you do get snowstorms. But again, the jet stream does not stay like this. I always try to tell people, this is not like a train track where it only goes on here. This does move. It does go up it goes down. If it goes down, you get the negative NAO, you get the big snowstorms. It rides up, you get the warmer air. But this, I think, the general pattern for the year, we're going to see go back and forth when we do have the chance for big snowstorms and for rainstorms. Will it be a bad winter or cold winter? It's hard to tell right now, guys. It's really hard to tell. But I do think we'll definitely see cold shots and above average snowfall. So with this setup, it's tough to forecast, again, because they're basically, the National Weather Service is going hand in hand, saying 50% chance to be mild, 50% chance to be cold. So they're kind of playing it safe. I'm going out, sticking my neck out and saying it's going to be a little colder than normal. Definitely above average snowfall, but nothing we can't handle. So my quick headlines before I get off. Slow start. I actually had that up a few weeks ago. No, we obviously seen winter start already. But again, people do argue it's not winter. We have a week left of fall. So if you want to, you can go either way with this. I would say, though, it's not a slow start. We're well below average. Right now, temperatures are stuck in the 20s for highs. We should be near 40. So 20-degree below normal temperatures for the next week or so, and we have been. So to me, that tells me that it's not going to be a slow start of winter. But we will gradually get, obviously, into worse, and there will be mild swings and cold swings, but winter is not starting slow at all. It's already been picking up, and it's only fall, only the mid-December, and that's pretty crazy when you think about it. I think temperature will be near average. You'll see the jet stream fluctuate, so below average, above average. It'll kind of go back and forth throughout the winter. So I'm not concerned about any huge temperature change, although if I had to stick my neck out, I would say slightly below average, slightly, by maybe a degree, which in the scheme of things is actually very little. And then winter above average snowfall. I do think, guys, it's above average. We've already seen almost a foot of snow, or we will before winter officially starts. So if you add again, calculate that to the whole forecast, you're automatically looking at more snowfall for the winter. So I do think we'll see above average, not insanely above average, but definitely above average snowfall throughout the winter. And I think winter does come with a big finish. I think we will see a greater chance for big snowstorms, not hopefully like the blizzard, but something in that nature, big nor'easter come the end of winter. It's the coldest part to winter. The jet stream usually wants to dip, which is giving us the chance for these storms. Again, it's hard to tell. I'm talking about 2.5, 3 months away, but that's what I think possibly will happen. And again, like I said, I do think there's definitely a chance for a few big snow events, mid-February, mid-January to mid-February. And this way you can bring your nor'easters, maybe your 1 to 2 foot snowstorms. Will it happen? Again, way too early, but I think it's definitely possible around this time frame. And I think I put this up just to be funny, the big question mark, because remember, I'm talking about 2-3 months in advance. It's really hard doing long-range forecasts. The hurricane forecast I did with meteorologist Quincy Vagel last year to talk about this hurricane season was kind of a flop. Things changed, and it wasn't nearly as bad as we thought. And it could happen this winter, but I think it's a little easier talking about the winter since we're already seeing signs of patterns and such. But again, it's really hard to forecast a winter forecast since we're talking about 2 to 3 months in advance. This is my shot at it. If I'm right, I'm wrong. Good. It's hard to do, but I want to do meteorology for my life, so I'm going to have to start learning now how to do long-range forecasting and how to either take it being right or wrong. So guys, hope you enjoyed this weather segment on Words of Weather. Next time I'm going to try to do a little different thing. I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but it may be pretty interesting what I do next time. And it may not also involve weather, but more the meteorology forecasting scope of things. But for this time, I'm Zack, and this is Words of Weather.